Hello, my name is John Strand with Black Hills Information Security, and I'm a customer of Scythe, and I wanted to tell you why we are customers of Scythe. Whenever you're doing a red team, a penetration test, or any type of offensive security test, and you're doing it correctly, it requires a massive amount of testing post-exploitation. In particular, mapping those things over to the MITRE ATT&CK technique matrix. What Scythe allows us to do is automate a tremendous amount of those activities so we can get them done quickly instead of doing them manually. And we can get on to research and development and actually tuning our assessments specifically for our customers. So check out scythe.io.
To find out more about Scythe, visit scythe.io/securityweekly. Thinkst Canary makes high-fidelity honeypots that set up in minutes and requires no ongoing administration. Attackers moving silently on your network advertise their presence by tripping over them. There's a good reason Thinkst Canaries are deployed and loved by some of the best security teams in the world. They're inexpensive, they're simple, and they work. For more information, go to securityweekly.com/canary or direct message @Thinkst Canary on Twitter. Domain tools help security analysts turn threat data into threat intelligence. They take indicators from your network, including domains and IP addresses, and connect them with nearly every active domain on the internet. Those connections drive risk assessments, help profile attackers, guide online fraud investigations, and map cyber activity to attacker infrastructure. Fortune 1000 companies, global government agencies, and leading security solutions vendors use the Domain Tools platform as a critical ingredient in their threat investigations and proactive defenses. For more information, visit securityweekly.com/domain tools. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. Quick announcement. We're going to Disney World. Woo! After that technical segment, we decided we're going to... No. Disney's Contemporary Resort will be home to InfoSec World April 1st through the 3rd. You can go to infosecworld.misty.com. Use the registration code OS19-SecWeek. 15% off the main conference or World Pass. Again, if you'd like to do a free analyst briefing with us or a paid interview or both, go to securityweekly.com/conference request. And now the security news. I want to start with Patrick's story.
Oh boy.
About how the teen who hacked Apple macOS won't tell them why, which I think is
interesting,
ironic.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of neat that it seems as though Apple doesn't have a bug bounty program for macOS. So this hacker kid decided that he said he's not telling anybody. He says he's not releasing the exploit code. He showed it to another Mac researcher, I guess, who could then confirm it. But he wants to make sure that Apple is going to get people paid for when people find exploits for them. And it's kind of funny, like in the article, he refers to somebody else that was found a bounty or found a bug on a Sony product, and at least Sony gave him a T-shirt. So he kind of comments like, at least Sony gives you a T-shirt for hacking them, whereas Apple for Mac OS has given him nothing. So he's holding out, and who knows if he is actually holding out, where he's going to be selling that exploit to, but he's not telling Apple how he did it.
I love this kid. We gotta bring this guy on the show.
He's in Germany, I think.
It doesn't matter where he's
from.
So
what? Bring him on the show.
It doesn't matter. What is that? What do we? Germany is like our #2 country that listens to this show. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Germans love us and we love Germans. It doesn't matter where he's from. This kid's awesome for being like, you know what, Apple? I'm not telling you.
Maybe
like,
he's a listener and he's gonna contact you.
It's so awesome.
Can I jump in on a quick segue?
Yeah.
While on the Germany topic. I am teaching SANS Sec 573 in Munich, Germany, coming up.
What was that about? An infomercial, Jeff, earlier?
Yeah, it was. I mean,
while you're over there, Jeff,
Germany's
find this kid and talk him into coming on the show.
Right, that's right. Look, Python skills are probably the most valuable InfoSec skill you could have today. I would count it as. And I'm not just a marketing infomercial here. I would count it as one of the core essential skills that everybody should gain if they can.
And now for a special offer, you get 2 seats for the price of 1.
But wait, there's more.
You have to pay shipping and handling, but
and you get to meet Joff.
You get to meet me, which is such a pleasure.
Do we know this person's name? that won't tell Apple, because I have a whole newfound respect for this person now. I've been reading the story. Linus Heinz? H-E, help me out.
Hens.
Linus Hens. He's awesome.
You should offer him a T-shirt to come on the show.
I give him a T-shirt and a sticker to come on the show. How about that?
Maybe Linus, if you can show up to my course.
That's right.
There we go.
We'll make a remote call, bring him on. I think that's great.
Information security. In fact, I promise you, I will give you a free T-shirt if you show up.
Because
it may not be the one. It may not be the one that Paul's talking about.
Right. I'll get you a T-shirt. But so Linus is hitting on two things that really annoy me, and I think a lot of other people in the security community about Apple. And that's one, they are so tight-lipped. I mean, they control information, not just about products and other things, but about security especially. It's very, very tightly controlled. The other thing that annoys me is they've got bug bounties for a lot of other products, but not for macOS. So Linus is absolutely right in this case. Anyway, that was cool. Where do we want to go next?
To Disney.
Since we're talking about big companies and what we don't like about them, why don't we jump up to the Amazon article?
Good point, Jeff. I think, pirating or stealing of intellectual property, and certainly in this way, is like one of the most slimy things that we come across. And especially now that technology has enabled us or enabled the evildoers to pull this off. It's just terrible. Jeff, give our audience some background.
Let me frame it a little bit. So the other day on Twitter, I happened to see a tweet from Bill Pollock, who runs No Starch Press. He was posting some pictures of apparently a quote-unquote No Starch Press book that he had found on Amazon that actually wasn't a No Starch Press book. And so he was talking about how it's a counterfeit. The article that's in the show notes is an article that's about this exact problem, but it's written back in 2017. As near as I can figure out, and I spent like an hour, in an Amazon chat trying to get the answer to the question. But, basically Amazon has this service called CreateSpace where you can self-publish. And what I haven't been able to figure out yet, so I would defer to anybody from Amazon that could set all of us straight. I don't know what Amazon does to vet any content that people try to self-publish through CreateSpace. What they do offer is if you're a publisher or if you're an author and you go out to Amazon and see stuff that's not yours, they have this big, long process that you have to go through to identify it. Buy a copy of the book or whatever it is and check the ISBN number. And basically you have to submit all sorts of proof to Amazon that what they're selling isn't yours. And so the sort of the burden of proof is on the victim. And presumably if you discover that, if you prove it to Amazon, they'll be happy to take it down for you. Nothing about any, lost revenue, royalties on anything that's been purchased that should have gone to the rightful author and owner. So the mild stink that's been stirred up on Twitter a little bit is that Amazon apparently doesn't own any responsibility for vetting or validating content that they're publishing and then turning around and selling through Amazon. Whether it's valid or real or this is really the author that they're dealing with. And again, I haven't talked to anybody at Amazon that can say, oh, well, this is what we do. This is our process and it's good, bad, or indifferent. So I'll throw it out to the group here. What do you think? But mostly just trying to raise awareness because we have a sizable community that hopefully can raise enough of the noise level that maybe Amazon will respond and at least comment on what seems to be a practice where they sort of distance themselves from any kind of responsibility for first publishing or producing and then selling counterfeit materials.
It seems to be it's kind of behind the, they're definitely behind the 8 ball on this. YouTube had the same problem for a long time, other content aggregators. And the burden of proof has decided YouTube will do that himself. They'll do copyright algorithms on audio. They'll do it on video.
And their copyright algorithms today, Harry, are... Well,
they suck because they're a pain when you want to. You just want to have. Right.
Yeah, I mean, they are like really aggressive. Yeah, like if there is any, being a content creator for 14 years, right? I've noticed YouTube is just like gone. If there's anything that's copyrighted in there,
right, they'll stop.
We had music that we created. Like, we mixed it, created it ourselves.
But it sounded like something else.
And it got flagged for copyright. I'm like, how is that even? So they really err on the side of caution. And I think it's probably in YouTube's or Google's best interest to do that, right?
Whereas it sounds like Amazon is sort of...
It's taking
it's taking the approach YouTube took once upon a time. If you go pre-Google and back in time, they were like, look, this is not our problem.
Yeah.
It's whoever published it's problem. We're just posting it.
Which that kind of makes sense since in the YouTube example, everything's on the YouTube platform. Whereas with Amazon, there's times when you can order something through the Amazon website,
right?
But you're, as the buyer, interacting with somebody working out of their garage.
Right.
And it's just that Amazon advertised it and you are the purchasing through them, but Amazon never touches the thing. Whereas with YouTube, everything's on their platform. They see everything.
Yeah.
Well, these books, Jeff, were being purchased from Amazon.
These books are being purchased by Amazon, and they kind of look like, well, they say No Starch Press on them, but No Starch Press didn't print them, or they weren't their books.
Yep.
And apparently this has been going on for 17, 18, 19, 3 years. Bill Pollock has been trying to get Amazon to do something about it, and apparently he, as a publisher, is not getting any kind of communication with Amazon, yet alone any kind of satisfactory communication from Amazon. So again, I try to be fair, and I've been trying to investigate and find out, well, what does Amazon do here? Surely they must do something, but I haven't found anything yet. I got transferred. For a while, I swore I was talking to a bot. Which
you were.
I was.
It was Alexa,
and I got transferred 3 or 4 times, and it seemed like I was finally talking to a live person. But every once in a while you'd get that weird response, because I said something at one point about this is outrageous or something like that, and the response was we're really sorry about that. And I'm like, wow, you sound like our government after a mass shooting. And I was expecting them to pray for me the next thing, but I spent an hour on chat, and all I got was, here's this big long procedure of basically, if you're the publisher or you're the author, here's all the 20 steps you have to follow in order to try to prove that something we're selling isn't yours. Burden of proof is on you. Go. We don't care. I don't know what that middle ground is, what Amazon's doing in terms of caring or vetting. You would think that it's a big enough problem that there's enough authors, publishers out there that, maybe they have to band together. And another question for you, is there an alternative to selling your books on Amazon? I don't know if No Starch Press has a viable option to try to sell their books somewhere else, because I'm sure our community would gladly not buy from Amazon. They would go buy, somewhere else. Obviously, you can go to conferences where they have a booth and buy them.
Bill has his own e-commerce site.
He does.
Does he?
He does, and that's the only place I've ever bought No Starch books. And largely because if he's at a conference, he'll often gives out discount codes and those types of things, and that's the only place you can.
But he makes more money selling them himself than through Amazon, because you pay fees through.
But you're still going to have that majority of 90% of the population. Even if they would go to his site, they're going to go to Amazon first. It's
it's one of those. If I can't buy it on Amazon, I don't buy it.
Now, that's a great segue into another story that I had about. Publishing porn on the internet. Actually, it's the same concept.
Yeah,
and a lot of sites, and the whole thing is basically, as sites get larger and have to appeal to a larger audience, they have to take content at the lowest common denominator. And so what you're seeing now is, as these sites get much bigger and bigger and bigger, all of a sudden they're like, Yeah, adult content, you're gone. What was it? Tumblr was the one that did that, right?
Yep.
And as a content creator, we've dealt with this similar issue. It's a similar issue to Amazon, although that is a legal issue with copyrights, of course, which, again, we had to defer to our legal team on that one to comment.
Porn is copyrighted.
Porn, it is copyrighted.
Not that I know from personally.
It is copyrighted, but the whole thing is about the freedom of speech and also the level of access that your content can achieve based on a corporation making a decision. If Amazon makes a decision that we're not going to police the materials, copyrighted or not, in our bookstore, then what are your alternatives? If Tumblr says we're not going to allow pornography anymore, where do you put your content if it's somehow deemed as pornography? And let's draw the line. Some things are obviously pornography. If you read the article in the show notes, there are things that are, documentaries about sexuality or whatever, things that arguably could cross the line from the corporation's perspective providing the service. And they're just like, look, there's younger people on our network, so therefore anything that's even close, you're out. And that doesn't give those people the same voice. It doesn't give Bill from No Starch as big of an audience. It doesn't give anyone who's publishing content that could be adult material. Look, we fell victim to this, right? And they won't tell us why the content was flagged and
so
put
your
under
porn
restriction.
videos were taken down, Paul?
No, they were not porn, but I don't know if they were believed to be
In
porn.
someone's eye.
Our show, one of our shows, called Hack Naked News. It's different, themes. Was it that? Right. I don't know. Was it the fact that, and the real reason that I think I bring this up on the show is, what if it is about hacking material? What if the major publishers, YouTube, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, go, yeah, that hacking stuff, that's really, we can't have that. Like, younger kids are going to see that and they're going to be breaking and stuff
it's like
all over the place.
bomb-making material.
Yeah, like we're not allowing that as content on our network. We have a show on cigars. We suffered from this years ago as a cigar podcast. I'm not selling tobacco. I don't have a license to sell tobacco, nor do I care to have a license to sell tobacco in the state of Rhode Island, because it's a huge pain in the ass and not what we want to do as a business. However, because I am the Stogie Geek Show, I am not allowed to take out an advertisement on Facebook. I can't. Every time I did, it would get denied until I just stopped and was like...
Because it's tobacco-related.
It's tobacco-related. Mm-hmm. Tobacco-ish, right?
Yeah, enterprise-ish. It's tobacco. I think a lot of it, when we struggle with this morally, it's a size issue. If I was an indie publisher, and I just wanted to look, I'm going to publish...
Yeah, you publish whatever you want, right?
And nobody would say boo if I said, you know what, I'm not publishing anything that has the word naked in it. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But Amazon is we no longer think of it as just, it's a private company doing a niche business. It's the place. If you're not there, you don't exist, kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
And it's the same with Twitter or Tumblr or anything. Where do you draw the line? And all of a sudden, now you actually have a society responsibility as opposed to a private corporation make your own choices.
It's very scary to me. And you wonder how long places like Reddit and other avenues like that are going to remain as open as they do. Because it is, if you look at Reddit and you read the articles about Reddit, it's a double-edged sword. Right? So there's people talking about security and technology. There's people talking about cigars. There's pornography. There's also hate groups that are using Reddit and terrorists. So, and Reddit has made the decision that like everything's open. It's an open environment. Now, in support of free speech, I understand that, but free as in, okay, now there's hate groups on there, pedophiles, whatever. That could be a problem.
Look, the same thing happened, what is it, Gab versus Twitter. So if you're upset that Twitter enforces certain rules and responsibilities and you can't say certain things, so then you flock to Gab, but then it also attracted basically all of the extremes. So yes, it became this free platform. Reddit does as well, but it also became a magnet for... It's the
scum of the earth.
It's the part of the neighborhood you just don't want to walk through.
Right.
I'm glad that anybody can live there, but I don't want to live there anymore.
So the major corporations get to determine what is in the gutter scum of the earth and what is good and where that line is, right? Like books on hacking now all of a sudden are going to like the bad side and someone else is making that decision.
The moment they draw any line, it doesn't matter what the line is. The moment they draw any line there's going to be this left out niche, and they have to decide: do I go with the gutter people? What are those people that live underground? The Morlocks, or I go with
a lot of movies have that underground
Mole Men.
Morlock.
Yeah.
What was the one with Sylvester Stallone? What was that one?
Oh, not the future one.
The seashells.
Oh yeah.
The underground people. It's actually a good.
Come on,
it's actually
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah,
Sandra Bullock. Sylvester
it's actually
Stallone.
a good analogy to what we're talking about. The society above the ground was this utopian society where you couldn't swear and the whole thing, and the underground society wanted freedom, but they were, as we're deeming it, the scum of the earth.
They were the scum of the earth.
Well, it sounds like The Matrix too, for that matter.
Sorta. Well, but what was that movie? Now, we've described the entire.
Somebody go to IMDb
Demolition.
and look it up.
Not Demolition.
Demolition
That was
Man.
with the. Oh wait, Sylvester Stallone was with, what's
He
that other
was
guy's
with
name?
the other actor who was in the cigars that we had on a
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
cigar show.
No.
There's another.
While you're pondering this, let me say that there's an irony in all this when all these companies seem to forget that pornography kind of built the internet. And for many years, pornography was the only industry that was even making money on the internet. Amazon probably being the one company that emerged, or the first company that emerged. But I mean, I remember doing physical penetration testing of data centers back in the 97, 98-ish time frame, and when, once we identified who we were and we're getting the tour, back in the old days when data centers were actually filled with racks with blade servers and so on and so forth, they were saying, oh, every this row, it's all porn. We had to walk through what seemed like miles of racks before we got to our customer back in a corner.
So one of the ones was, sorry Jeff, but it was
I was stalling so you could find
thank you.
Judge
Dredd was
Judge
the one
Dredd.
that I was thinking. It's not. That's not the one. That's the one.
And the
where,
other one's Demolition Man.
Yeah, the other one's Demolition. So Judge Dredd was Armand Assante, who I thought of because he also had a cigar. Armand's in the cigar industry with his own cigar, and from everything I've heard, he's a really nice guy.
Right, but the Seashells, just to be clear, that was Wesley Snipes.
Seashells was Demolition Man 1993 with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one where the utopian society is above ground, and then there's the underground society.
But the point still remains. You start setting any line, and it doesn't matter where. Even if we all agree as a society, that's a good line to set. Yeah, I'm not going to have bomb-making material, but there's going to be that line's going to move a little bit, and everybody outside of it's going to have to flock somewhere else. And either you end up with an indie business, or you end up with the Morlocks or the Dredge.
Yep, that was exactly back in the day when I was doing the metadata research on images.
Yes.
We were pulling them down from Twitter and analyzing the metadata. And then Twitter said, or TwitPic, because Twitter wasn't hosting the images themselves, it was TwitPic that was doing it because there was a need for the service. TwitPic says, yep, nope, we have a no porn clause. You can't host your porn here. So 3 other services popped up and said, hey, come share your stuff here.
Right.
So,
but if you read about the types of content and the people that are impacted, it's not necessarily the people that are producing clearly porn, right? It's people who have
artists. A lot of the Tumblr people were just artists who do risque
erotic photos,
burlesque or whatever.
Whatever it is. And again, the corporation's the one making the decisions around that.
Yeah, I have, for example, this is going to sound weird, but I follow a person on Instagram
that you could say to me at this point, Larry.
Did something sound weird on this show?
Weird.
That does cosplay.
Yeah,
and she has amazing stuff for cosplay. But part of the way that she makes a living is through Patreon.
Yes, and that was in the article.
Yep. And by that Patreon stuff is that she does boudoir and lewd photography of her in all of these cosplay costumes.
Sure.
And she posts the notifications to Instagram and will put a picture of her in her costume in a bra. And her Instagram account gets flagged and taken down time and time again.
If I had my obviously I don't control Twitter or Instagram, any of those. I'd rather much prefer the two options that you can say. One is these are sensitive materials, so you have an extra click through, but it lets you. And or look, if you want to have just like Google Safe Search, if you want to have a safe Instagram that uses whatever algorithms they want. You have that, but that the platform's still free. If an adult chooses, hey, you know what? I want to see hacking materials. I want to see boudoir. I want to see bomb.
It's like the
materials.
evil bit, sort of.
Yeah.
But that's sort of a twist on the Amazon thing, because you're suggesting an opt-in or opt-out, and those companies are going to be concerned with the minors, let's say,
that are going to opt in to see the porn.
That are going to opt in, and is it still a liability for the big company? And they don't want to take that on, type of thing.
Although most adult content hosting things, I don't know how, at least whether it's legal or not, but the lawyers always have the button, click here if you are 18 or older. I don't know if that passes muster, but I don't know of many sites that have been sued by parents of 16-year-olds or even 10-year-olds that accidentally got to something.
The other interesting thing is with Apple Podcasts, they have not. I mean, they've enforced the explicit tag, over time, certainly.
Right.
Largely, I have not heard about them like getting serious about filtering content. Like largely, they're taking the Reddit approach to podcasts, and dear God, let's hope that continues. Right. Now, but it's audio as well, right? So there's no images or video when you're listening to a podcast. So not only is it hard to filter, but I guess there's a moral compass of if people listen to words versus viewing pictures or images, also, different things.
What if you're interviewing a guy named Dick, and it's just, hey, Dick.
And again, I don't pretend to know how they were policing it.
Right. And like, what happens if you ask him for a pic? I mean,
but the copyright issue is a little different, because that's
different. That's a legal issue.
That's a legal issue, right? Versus moral lines, even legality aside, moral lines are tough ones, but copyright is copyright.
Absolutely.
And I do think if you're hosting and/or you're the third party providing that access, you have some liability, even if you're just a third party connector.
To me, that's a lawyer question, Harry. Though, intellectual property law, as you probably well know, owning a business, right, is tricky stuff. And so, who is responsible and what level of I think it's more a question of what level of responsibility do they have. It also, I think, in this country, comes down to who can afford the better lawyers.
Well, and who's well, I'm going to actually put it the other way. It comes down to this country, who's most likely gets sued. You think this generic guy who's selling this copyright book is going to get sued? He's got no money.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon's going to get
yes.
So,
you're right.
So it's in their interest to put money behind it.
And that's probably why Google decided with YouTube to,
It might take, in Amazon's instance, a class action suit where a bunch of independent publishers and authors somehow band together, because what Paul said is true. It's the ones that can afford the best lawyers tend to win.
And I'm glad we talked about it. So the security community can support Bill and No Starch Press, who Bill is
buy directly from No Starch Press. Don't get your No Starch Press books from Amazon, please.
And Bill is a nice guy. He's an honest guy making an honest living, as far as I can tell, having interacted with him and hearing everyone talk about it. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Bill in the community. Again, honest guy making an honest living, just trying to make sure no one's ripping off his copyrighted stuff. And if we can help raise awareness about that and help influence that in any way, I think it's positive. So, Jeff, thank you.
Bill and No Starch are amazing. And if you're at RSA and you can get invited to the No Starch party, if they're doing one this year, I highly recommend you go. And everybody there was absolutely fantastic.
There is one, and we're invited. Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So excellent. And if you get the book, I can promise you no inappropriate pictures are going to be in there. So you really don't have anything to worry about there.
I mean, unless they have a picture, like a screenshot of Emacs or something, and then I'd question.
Stop it. We had this discussion. I'm an Emacs guy. You're a VI.
Right, you are
I'm an Emacs guy, and you just blasphemed me. you would be banned from my platform.
Let's move along now.
I feel so triggered right now.
Paul's got a VI in the screenshot in his book. Get it out. We're not publishing it.
That is totally correct, though. Emacs is a dirty fucking word.
Wow. That's it. Triggered beyond the... I'm going to Tumblr with my editor.
Oh,
I mean, it got bloated over... Oh, anyway.
Oh, boy. Wow. All right.
Hey, let's
avoid
talk
the whole...
about vulnerabilities and containers. That's a fun one.
It's, we've talked about this on various shows. Inside the container, you can exploit vulnerabilities in Run C, which essentially, this is the first widely publicized bug I've seen in terms of a container escape.
Yeah.
maybe there have been other ones. I'm just going to say that. Containers are a newer technology. It's evolved. Not everyone has been looking, but I have somewhat inside information that tells me it's not the first.
Arguably, there's been container escape, but it's largely due to misconfiguration on those containers.
Sure. Absolutely.
Isn't it always?
Yeah. But so apparently this article was run, and it's touted as how to defend against it. And basically, they've identified the modification of both the containers bin sh and the host's user bin docker-run nc. And if you can do that, then you can detect it. And I'm like, there's a lot of ways you could detect that with a lot of solutions, likely open source and commercial, to detect if someone's messing with your binary, right? I think Harry, even you talked about that. You would detect that in.
There's a lot. That's the whole point. If you're going to mess with the binary, there are ways to detect this. It does show, though, what we were saying before. Container isn't an invulnerable thing.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's misconfiguration, because one of the things people think is, I'll just take this stock container off the shelf, this image, and then I'll put my thing in there. It's not misconfiguration, it's poisoned images.
Right, it's either poisoned images or still all of the same things apply for configuring systems. It's a system. It's just a smaller system that it still requires, quote, host-based firewalls, but you're not running a host-based firewall, so you have to do it within the container infrastructure, and you have to do principal least privilege. Like, we did some testing not that long ago about some containers that you could get access to the command prompt within the container through Jupyter Notebook, and you type you type sudo,
and your root. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just Linux.
It's like
so Linux binary running on top of the kernel at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's an IDS running in a Lua script under Emacs, and then it's not Linux at all.
Emacs is totally secure. It never happens.
Because no one uses it.
Because no one uses it.
Sorry, I had to go there again.
You did.
Yeah, go back to using your mouse and your color-coded editors.
What? You use a mouse in an editor?
I mean, what? Yeah, it requires you to RAM to use your editor?
All right, we'll cover another Linux vulnerability so that we can somehow segue that into the Emacs VI Holy War as well. Oh, snap! Snap. I don't use the Snap package management. Is that right? Is that what it's some kind?
Snapd. I have what?
It's Snapd is a Canonical's open source toolkit for packaging and running applications via systemd.
Fucking systemd.
Always systemd.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Systemd is worse than Emacs.
I was gonna. Can we at least agree on that? Like, you're wrong about VI, but systemd is worse than Emacs.
I agree with that. I agree with that. We somehow need T-shirts that promote init or something, or like bring back init. I don't know. We need some kind of T-shirt for us to wear and express our discontent for systemd.
It's easy. It's just a few words. Where'd my fucking init script go? They just put that on the front of the shirt.
It would get filtered out of almost any online store if you say that.
I mean, if you're running containers, you don't have the systemd problem because systemd doesn't run inside of containers. But
what was the T-shirt that I saw the other day that could be adapted to that? It was systemd. I just baked you some shut the fuck up cakes.
So no one's looking at this. No one's using Snap.
No.
Snapd. No.
Snapd or Snap for package. It's the second time it's come up on one of our shows.
No. Packaging. Yeah.
But then we stopped drinking so much, and it didn't come up again.
Yeah. So let's put it this way: if I was going to be packaging and running applications via systemd, I'd do it on my own because the framework is there. It's fairly simple to do. I have done it, not by choice, because I want my init scripts back.
Snap is a way to create packages
that will launch via systemd. So it creates that framework so you can do like systemd package start.
Oh yeah, gotcha. To start and stop and restart.
Yeah, so you create that framework so you can just call systemd to do it.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
On a lighter note,
go ahead, Jeff.
We were I forget what we were talking about last week, but I said something about I wish I could still be running Windows 95. One of our loyal listeners tweeted me, and there's actually an app out there that's available for Windows 10, Linux, and Mac, where you can emulate Windows 95. So I'm rummaging through boxes trying to find my old Zork CDs so I can get that thing up and running.
Oh, I'm so connecting that thing to the internet and see what the survivability rate is.
Yeah, that's right. See how long it takes to fall over dead.
It's so obsolete, I don't even think anybody's going to touch it. They just be like, I'm not going to it.
I think it'll be by accident. It's going to receive packets today and be like, I don't know what that is, and crash.
Well, I don't want crash. I want compromise.
Long live the ping of death, baby.
I don't think we're stable enough to be
Literally,
compromised.
all it has to do is connect.
It's not. It's an app that runs it. It's an emulator.
Oh,
for what it's worth.
Well,
it's emulated.
Oh, it's not actually running a packaged version of Windows 95 in a. It
emulates.
emulates.
They wrote Windows 95 into an emulator application.
Oh.
Follow the link. It's in the show notes.
Oh wait, so you don't like actually get the Windows 95?
No, it's not like
was
you're
it even a
creating
CD?
virtual
There was
image.
a CD, not a floppy. There was both back then, right? CD and a floppy of Windows 95.
Can you get Microsoft Bob to work on it? Get clipped.
That would be awesome.
Because that would be, that would bring back the classics. Kind of put it on that gaming console.
Bring back the classics.
See, when I need to punish my kids, I'm gonna be like, look, now all you have to use is Windows 95 with Microsoft Bob. All right, this is what we had back in the day. This is what you have now. And they'd be like, where's the home button? How do I install apps?
Start?
What is going on?
This is great. It even comes with front page.
How do I
if
get
you
to the
want
internet?
If you want to install an app, you got to reboot. Like, what is that?
Right,
I never
exactly.
turn my iPad off. What are you talking about? There was a USB cable with an embedded Wi-Fi controller into it. When plugged into Linux, Mac, or Windows, the cable is detected as a hid device, and those it actually sets up a command and control channel off of a Wi-Fi PCB.
So this is
straight up your alley.
This is bad USB.
Mm-hmm.
Those bad USB cables with the additional Wi-Fi chipsets, so you can connect to the bad USB cable and get your
How
control.
big is the? It must be a tiny Wi-Fi chipset.
It is tiny. It is a standard cable. It doesn't look any different than any other cable.
And it still functions like a cable?
It functions like a cable.
So it'll still pass power and data to the connected device?
It will do power and data to the connected device.
And show up as a hid device.
And show up as a hid device.
And give you
and
access.
Will power Wi-Fi to create a Wi-Fi access point and so forth and so on.
It's actually some pretty amazing engineering.
It's amazing.
I was going to say,
security ramifications aside, like that's pretty amazing.
Right. We don't know if we'd be amazed or outraged.
Terrified. Yep. So Kevin Mitnick's company.
Was the
one that did the bad USB stuff, and I don't know where this is on the evolution.
I remember reading some of Kevin's posts on that. It was
but this is effectively
he had to seek out some serious engineering to.
Yes.
Like a lot of people, when he brought that idea, from what I gathered from reading, I think on LinkedIn, some of his posts was people were like, "Yeah, that's not possible." Like he had to go find some people that could really do it.
It's like, yeah, it is.
and it's also with Kevin's company's cable. The idea wasn't his idea, but he quote perfected the implementation, as it were, and he shares my understanding. He shares all of that profit and credit with the folks that actually developed bad USB. But it's amazing.
A lot of things aren't truly unique. Well, Josh Wright has a presentation on this. I talk about aspects of that in some of my talks. Is basically drawing on Josh's inspiration.
Yep. The one that's awesome is that with that bad USB cable, it functions. It does its activity. It injects all of its code for establishing command and control and exploit, and you name it, unless you present a rare earth magnet to the device, and then it puts it in programming mode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really? That's how they trigger it, because it has no other inputs.
Right. So if you want to program it, you put the magnet on it, and it goes into programming mode, and you can update it and do all your stuff. And it puts
it's even more amazing, right?
I mean, remember that the days, wasn't that long ago, you just drop USB sticks in a parking lot, people pick them up, insert them, they're screwed. Now it's a USB cable. And you got to and what you do is you got to put the sort of the 5 different Apple adapters at the end, because people gobble those up like they're, chocolate.
Yeah, right.
Anybody will plug those in. Oh, I got to get that in my machine.
Well, because I think we've raised a lot of awareness around, like, don't plug your phone into random ports in the airport or in a kiosk, right? But there's not a lot of awareness today about you got to make sure you're aware of what cable you're using to charge.
I don't think we do. People do it all the time. And within the security community, you won't see us plugging into the airport, but Those
we have
cords are
our
there
own
for-
battery
Right.
packs and
The size of
physical plugging into the wall outlet and our own cables and all that stuff.
But I don't think that's a generalized sentiment. Most society, that's why everywhere you go, there are more of these power and plug stations.
Right.
People are not sensitized to the dangers of cables.
Because everyone's traveling. Most people likely travel with a phone and a tablet, right? That need to be charged.
Yeah, always need to be charged their phones.
And for a while, people didn't know. I'd break out a battery pack, and people would be like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? It's a bat. You've never been to a security conference and had to charge your phone? Like you can't get through a conference without one of these things."
You ever go when they first came out? Go through airport security with them, and they'd flag in your backpack or your carry-on and be like, "What's this?"
Now they have them at every convenience store, right?
Yep. I have
I
four
don't
in my
know.
bag now. Like
You try going through airport security with like a 26,000 milliamp battery pack. They'd be like, hold on a minute.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I actually had that problem last time I was coming out of Europe. I had the big ass Anchor battery pack, which will charge my MacBook Pro.
Yep.
It is badass. But the Germans didn't really like that too much.
No, it's SeaTac also didn't like a suitcase full of wood and knives. Ironically,
This is the knife make right. The problems that we just don't have.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I've never done this before. I actually had to pay for overweight bags, for 2 overweight bags. Coming back from Seattle today, or yesterday.
It's all blur at this point.
Yeah, my hard-sided case was 54 pounds.
Oh.
And the guy checking my bag. He's like, if you can move 4 pounds to the other bag, I'm like, no.
Not doing it.
Put the other bag up. The other bag was 62 pounds.
See, but you would have been better off doing that and paying only one overweight. They don't average it out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, Mike.
It's
there's
so
no way.
the same amount of weights going on the never
On the
mind.
plane.
Never, you know what? No, let's not go there.
No, it's about because the person has to carry it, and it's their medical insurance or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Giving them the
So
benefit.
I've encountered that for years because every time I've been in and out of Australia, they're very, very particular about that. They'll get you. You know, if it's over 26 kilograms or whatever, it's like, that's it. Buy another bag. You know, whatever. I have actually bought bags at the airport just to come home. So
It's like, dude, I'm going to go have a cheeseburger. That's going to put me way over
Right?
the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that on people yet. Not yet.
No.
This article was kind of interesting. The 10 quotes to get your boss to take IT security seriously. I don't know if anyone else read the article, but I liked this one. Out of all, I read all 10. And this quote says, "One of the tests of leadership is the ability to recognize a problem before it becomes an emergency." Arnold H. Glasgow, author and businessman.
nice.
I don't know if it's the most prolific security quote ever, but out of the 10, that was my favorite. The rest of them were kind of like stuff we kind of knew. But.
You know, I feel like we should invoke PCI at this point. Cue Jeff.
Interesting segue, Joff. Are you
Go
just
ahead,
checking?
Jeff. I made it this far without mentioning it.
Are we just talking about it just to check the box?
Compliance is security.
You better believe it, man. We checked the Emacs box already.
To me, this quote was something right out of, it conjured up memories of, the Phoenix Project, about unplanned work, right? How that relates to security, your ability as a leader to get ahead of problems before they become serious problems in emergencies. And I thought it was great.
Because it sounds like what he's saying really is the old an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's get a hold of it and make sure that we can head off any kind of problems before they're going to happen.
Technical debt, I think, certainly plays into this quote. I think it's one of the reasons my favorite is there's a lot of different ways you could go, go and interpret it.
Our head of engineering, Tom Hickman, likes to say turning knowledge into negligence.
Mm-hmm.
So which is basically once you're aware of the problem, whatever it is, if you don't take action, you're now negligent.
Right.
So part of how do you improve something, you simply provide knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to management at that point. It's negligent if they don't take action.
Right.
I think my favorite quote from that article, Paul, "The best way to get management excited about a disaster plan is to burn down the building across the street."
Yeah.
From Dan Irwin, security officer, Dow Chemical.
Yeah.
How many companies learned about disaster recovery after September 11th?
A lot.
A lot. I remember going to a presentation down in New York City where they were talking about, like, we were lucky because our stuff was here, and we see all the issues that they had because their stuff was in the towers, and it's like all that was gone. So that's how they realized, like, we need to put stuff in multiple places.
Along those lines, did you see the VF email? Yeah, it was an email service, and they broke in, and they basically went on a seek and destroy mission.
Yep.
And started deleting backups, deleting VMs, all of the US-based infrastructure. They were just deleting it, and to the point where a lot of it's not going to come back, according to the founder of the company.
It will never come back. It's gone. It is destroyed. And my understanding was the greater majority of their infrastructure, all of their virtual machines had shared credentials across the board.
Interesting.
What was the motivation behind it? Do they know?
I couldn't glean that from any of the. Did you glean that from any of the articles? That was my question, Harry, and I couldn't figure it out.
And I think the big one is that without any sort of evidence, you'll never be able to determine motive unless someone claims responsibility.
Right. No, and these are the ones that people don't, because you think, okay, well, I don't have anything of value or whatever. It's the destructive attacks. Was the one that happened, Aramco, where they wiped out the machines. Those are the ones that teach you lessons. Because even if you think, well, I don't have anything, or I don't have anything, a lot of the crypto with blanked out on the term.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, no,
cryptocurrency.
Not crypto. That's where my tongue is going. Too many damn limoncellos. Where crypto hijacking. No, that's the cryptocurrency. Where they encrypt your whole hard drive.
Ransomware. Yeah.
Thank you.
You no did more have too much limoncello.
But that which
Emacs.
They're not. It's you know what? Emacs can't be encrypted. It's totally every file I access.
It's immune to any kind of ransomware.
It's totally immune to ransomware.
I use
challenge accepted.
I PGP encrypted my Emacs files all the time.
Yeah, but Emacs is a denial of service attack, though.
It begs the question in today's, technological world, how do we protect the backups? I mean, let's talk back in the day for a moment for the youngsters out there, right? We had, our safe was Iron Mountain. Now, say what you will about the company, and I'm sure we could say a lot of things, but let's not go there. But anyway, there were services, right? You made a backup to a physical tape. That physical tape was then taken off-site and put in secure storage. I mean, it depended on your provider. I'm trying to say this without laughing because we've all heard, stories about
it was put in off-site storage.
It was put in off-site storage.
With some modicum of security.
Yes. And so an attack would have to enter into the physical world and know what you're going after to go get at your backups, right? And, of course, there was a thing where it's not really a backup unless you've tested it.
That's so true.
I mean, Joff, right? I mean, we all know someone or maybe are that person that thought the backups were good. They were stored off site. You put in I used to have to fill out like a request on a piece of paper to go retrieve that tape, and it would come back maybe same day, maybe next day, right?
Right. But now
you put it in and go, that tape's blank, or it doesn't work, or it's not the right or like I didn't actually get a backup, right?
We worry about backups, but how many people ever actually successfully backed up anything?
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, any recovered a backup.
Right. And so, but how do we protect in today's world when we have containers, whatever applications? How do we protect it? How do we put the trust in place in all these different scenarios to make sure that if someone gets in, that they can't modify a backup or delete a backup?
Well, a lot of times, by the way, the technique's a little simpler than that. Is you go in, you infect whatever you're infecting, you lay low for a couple weeks.
And let it back up.
Let it back up. You're going to back, because how many people keep 6 months, 2 years worth of backups?
Right.
Or even if they knew how to roll back that far.
Right, right.
And so that's enough. Then whatever attack you execute, they restore the backup, you do it again.
Yep.
And again, and again, and again.
I have seen some technologies, and they weren't really backups. It was more for logging and incident response and forensics that, there was a segment on the show. It was Waterfall Security. Basically took their ICS security device that had that physical, like, one-way connection. Like, so there was one way in. Physically, the diodes wouldn't let it out. They applied that to logging so that the logs could only flow one way, and it was serial, right? Like the logs would get written, you couldn't overwrite what had already passed through the device. That's the only similar thing I've seen.
The blockchain of backups.
It's essentially,
I have to say blockchain.
Similar.
You have to say
PCI, blockchain, where Emacs VI. We're on a roll. We're on a roll.
Containers, AI, and machine learning enabled as well. It's very important
and
that
containers.
we have
in containers,
crypto, blockchaining, container AI, machine learning enabled backups.
And let's not forget DevSecOps.
If your buzzword bingo card is full, please submit your answer to us.
To get a free T-shirt.
Yeah, a free T-shirt. That's right.
Part of our bug bounty
I was thinking
program.
today, I actually want to make a buzzword bingo card and print up a bunch and take them out to RSA with me and pass them out, just for fun.
It's been done before. Kind of goes back to our. It has been done, but we can do it again. Yeah, sure.
No, you should build an app to do it, and the app should actually be malware.
Yeah,
it's connect to every time they click something, just steal a credit card, steal something. No, please don't do that.
Harry has his evil hat. I'm impressed, Harry, with your evil hat. That's great.
No, yeah, you get like maximally pwned as soon as you get bingo.
Right, buzzword bingo.
That's right. Yeah, when you get bingo, then it's extreme pwnage.
Then it takes all your picks and all of your picks and posts them on Tumblr.
And scans them for the content of flesh tone before it posts them first.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, you can scan pictures for content of flesh tone.
It sounds like you've done this before.
No, it's a contrast detector. So when I was at Mac, side little story here, but I was at McAfee.
Oh yeah, please do tell. You're on a roll tonight, Harry.
So I was at McAfee through acquisition from SiteAdvisor. We had this, we'd built this technology that crawled the World Wide Web looking for malware.
Back then it was called the World Wide Web. Just for a young audience out there.
There was this thing called
the internet.
The interwebs. And McAfee acquired us, and one of the things they wanted to add, and it was called this, I think I could say this, was called the Nipple Detector.
Yeah.
I've heard of this before.
And it was a set of algorithms. Right. And it didn't do well on certain things. Like it hated anime, it hated certain types of images that it just couldn't handle. But for your general typical porn skin tone.
Could it determine gender?
It was a nipple finder. I guess it wasn't a hair detector.
That doesn't necessarily determine gender. Okay, I'm very offended right
now. This is true.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So that's either Paul's into big boobs and hairy chests, or
maybe both. Who knows? Who are you to judge?
I am not. I'm no one to judge.
Actually, you're not one to judge. No, you this long. You are not one to judge.
No one to judge.
And nobody's judging what kind of nipples you're looking at or whatever. But anyway, that's...
Yeah, in any case, we were back to
you had that technology
because you know what?
Then,
right. Because you know what? Who doesn't love nipples?
They serve a purpose. Maybe not on males, but that's a mystery that we won't unravel on this show for sure.
I'm not even going to go there. It's way too much trouble.
We just went way down. You led us down this rat hole.
I don't even have a safe way out right now. What's my safe
Did
word?
no one warn you not to?
But I got a safe word. Emacs.
Yeah.
Emacs.
Does Emacs have nipples?
That's a safe word.
Does Emacs have nipples? Can you milk an Emacs?
Can you script it?
Is Emacs an animal? Is that? No, that's an E.
According to O'Reilly,
emu. That's an emu.
According to O'Reilly,
which is different from emo. I mean,
right. Emo is
emo
very and an emo detector is
an
actually
EMAC is a infant emu. They call it an EMAC.
Does it?
He said that with authority. Is that true?
It's not true.
Does an emu use Emacs?
Could be.
Okay,
Larry, let's talk about your story number 2, Inside Ubiquiti Discovery Service.
Yeah, so this was a fantastic article from Rapid7 that was basically along the lines of, this thing happened with Ubiquiti stuff, and they finally acknowledged that there was a problem, and they decided to patch. But what else can we find? And they went about this by basically acquiring Ubiquiti firmware and obtaining binaries and so forth, and looking at what the traffic and ports were open on Ubiquiti devices. And they found that the discovery service, their own custom discovery service, was available on the network that you could interact with in various ways, shapes, and forms. And the binary itself had a bunch of availability for buffer overflows and so forth. So that the initial disclosure was limited.
Yeah.
And they found a whole bunch more and actually walked through the entire process of how they were going about doing all of that discovery.
Now, who's Ubiquiti fixed these issues?
As soon as they're disclosed, it was probably...
Yes.
If it was disclosed from Rapid7, Harry, you're right. Yeah. They probably fix it. So
absolutely.
again, in the previous segment, we talked about Ubiquiti, and I have looked at the discovery services, and knowing what you know as a security engineer that's been around for a while is that discovery services are typically really vulnerable, right? And just the nature of the way they work, they want to be like Active Directory, right? They want to be helpful. They want to allow people to discover things, and that's often their downfall. Universal plug and play, as an example. With Ubiquiti, if you've got like an Unify controller or a cloud key, right, you tell it to go discover access points, and like magically, and it works really well, magically, it defines all of your access points, whether you're managing them or not, whether you have the password for them, you can adopt it, right? Like if you find an access point, if it hasn't been set up, or it has been set up, but you don't have the credentials, it'll say, yeah, it's there. I know about it, but I can't let you manage it until initial setup has been completed, or you give me the username and password, in which case it'll log in. And it's actually called adopting, and it'll adopt that access point into your management. You need to give it the
scan for 0.0.0.0/0.
Yeah, well, you have to give it the SSH username and password for it if you don't own that device. There are defaults in previous Ubiquiti, and Ubiquiti is a username and password. Is frequently what I try, and sometimes that works if it is in the default state. So it doesn't surprise me that there are vulnerabilities, and hopefully Ubiquiti fixes them, because I like their gear and I like their software. So
nice.
Awesome. Good find, Larry. Any other stories that we would like to cover before we round out the show on Valentine's Day?
What was the DEFCON goes to Washington?
I saw that.
That was Jeff. That was your story.
Jeff.
You had me nervous. I thought it was my story, and I didn't read it. Oh, Jeff, you're on mute.
Jeff's muted.
Jeff.
His VI editor hung.
Oh, boy.
Here I am.
His Emacs ate up all his swap space.
Somebody from DEFCON went to D.C. and testified before us. Is it a Senate subcommittee? The Committee on Homeland Security. Defending our democracy, building partnerships to protect America's elections.
Oh, and is it? So is this maybe someone from the
voting village,
the election, the voting village?
Jake Brown, co-founder of the DEFCON Voting Machine Hacking Village.
Yep.
So, I think what I read was first time somebody affiliated with DEFCON has testified in D.C. So kudos.
Very cool.
See, one of the things in there that they talk about as well is the supply chain, and they mention how the parts to these voting machines are created in China, so somebody could compromise them at that point, and then they
like my firewall,
right? Just like your firewall,
just like your firewall. Yeah.
and it's kind of interesting where they talk about how they're built in China and could be compromised somewhere in the process, and then be attacked from the Kremlin. It's like, why are we focusing so much on Russia as being the main attack when?
Right, it was built in China.
Wouldn't China be just as interested in affecting our democracy as anybody else? I don't know why.
And that's probably not more capable.
Well, no, actually, it's the attention.
No.
Well, it is true. Russia's more capable, but it is the attention span thing. We can only have one big bad wolf at a time.
Right.
So if it's China, it's IP. But if once you talk voting, it has to be Russia, because we can't possibly have two evil doers in the world.
Never mind North Korea. We're not.
Oh yeah, no,
we're not going there
unless you're making a movie. Then it can be North Korea.
Then it's bad.
They're the only ones who attack Hollywood.
No, but I think a serious answer to Patrick's question is China is more motivated by we're their largest consumer of their goods. So they have a vested interest in keeping our economy going, whereas Russia might be more trying to make a power play. So I think their motivations conceivably are different.
But wouldn't China also be potentially interested in getting a president or a Congress that is more beneficial to them?
Yes.
Yes.
Look, it could be something even a lot more subtle than that. Wouldn't they be interested in knowing who's going to win the outcome of elections before they happen, even if it's only a 12-hour window or something? There's a lot of time you can buy a lot of influence in that time.
Yeah, and
they're in the future, so they got that automatically.
Sweet.
That's a good point, Jeff.
Wow. They're 12 hours ahead. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for participating in this episode of Paul's Security Weekly. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Larry, Sorry, take us out.
Overend.